This is Advanced Autonomy. I'm Luke Renner. My guest today is a colleague of mine here at Cyngn, Tim Varecka. Tim is the Director of Engineering and has been developing technology solutions for his entire career. Before joining Cyngn, he was in charge of new product development for Hexagon, an organization focused on digital transformation of the mining industry. Now, at Cyngn, he takes his experience developing products for mines even further by helping mining operations integrate advanced autonomous systems into the vehicles they already own. In this conversation, we'll be talking about the intersection of autonomous vehicles and mining, diving into its unique challenges and possibilities, and exploring how AV technology development in this space is a far different animal. Hi, Tim. Welcome.
Hi, Luke. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. So you are here to talk about mining. And I thought we could kind of get started with you telling us a little bit about kind of how long you've been in the mining space and what brought you to Cyngn.
Yeah, I've been in mining since 2017, so fairly new to the industry. But like a lot of other industries, they're going through digital transformation, and that's what brought me to the mining industry. I mean, I've done that in other business spaces, and it's an exciting time to get into mining. Um, and at Cyngn, I just a lot of fortuitous circumstances happened, and you know where I was at before was into autonomous uh, vehicles, and I've worked in transportation in the past where we were doing digital transformation, and it just was a logical, exciting place to be.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's excellent. Okay, so let's get a rundown of the mining space. Where is the mining industry at with its autonomy journey?
Yeah, it's just starting. I mean, we've been spending a lot of time working on autonomous. It's a logical extension of safety equipment and sensors that they've been adding to make mining vehicles more safe, obviously for drivers and personnel. If you've seen on TV or if you're familiar with those giant haul trucks that are bigger than a house, the
Mhm.
line of sight on those it's not the greatest, right? So seeing what's around you is challenging. And so there's been companies that have been making sensors to tell the vehicle where what's near it, what other vehicles are nearby. And it's just a logical extension of that, taking into account vehicle intervention. So now the vehicle will brake if it detects a hazardous condition. Also, part of the digital transformation of mining has been fleet management systems and mine production planning. Also, a logical extension of that, instead of just telling a human driver where to go,
Mhm.
now we can just tell the vehicle where to go. But it's been a incremental journey. The whole autonomous industry has been a little. People thought things would be a lot farther along than they are, and the same is true of autonomous vehicles and mining as well.
Yeah. What are some interesting projects that you can tell me are that may already be underway at some of these mining operations?
So haul trucks that I mentioned before, that's an easy. Well, I shouldn't say easy, but the problem space is just taking the haul truck from the loader and depositing it to wherever it needs to dump that ore,
Mhm.
going from point A to point B. And so doing that, drills, there's a set pattern for the drill holes. So that's an easier problem to solve. But it's just extending to other vehicles as well. Dozers are getting involved now, and everything you can imagine.
So, for those of us who aren't entirely sure what a hauler is that just like a dump truck? Is that how we can think of
As
it?
Yeah, a giant dump truck as big as a house.
As big as a house.
Yep.
Okay.
2 stories. Yep.
Yeah, it's pretty
And
amazing to imagine that that thing could be driving itself.
yeah, it's actually, like at night or in different conditions, more harsher conditions, that it's actually safer.
So I'd like to talk about mining as an ODD, as a unique environment where we may be bringing autonomy. So what are some of the unique challenges that this environment is facing? What can you tell us about that?
Mines are typically in remote areas of the world where they don't have good LTE 4G coverage. They're also large spaces, so if they have a Wi-Fi network, they're spread out, and there are lots of dead areas in them as well. And then underground mines don't have the access to GNSS or GPS or whatever, the satellites. So a lot of the autonomous algorithms depend on GPS. That's how they're determining localization. And if you don't have that, how do you do that, right? So how do you doing that with lidar mapping and point clouds and other ways of doing that, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I want to shift now and talk about where things are headed. So, if you were to predict how the mining environment might look in 5 years, what could you say?
Yeah, I think just continue extending the safety and the fleet management that we've been doing in the past. But I think in 5 years, getting vehicles from point A to point B will probably be solved, right? So it's going to be autonomy and something, right? So a good
Mhm.
example would be like a dozer, right? A bulldozer. So it's easy to move a bulldozer from A to B, right? Back and forth. But to get the efficiencies of that operation, knowing when the subtleties of dipping the blade down and making sure you're efficiently moving the dirt. That's going to be the next challenge to solve. So to create a fully autonomous vehicle that can do everything, right?
Yeah.
So and that's where machine learning comes in, where we can get a bunch of data of different drivers, and then reduce the variation that you would have even with human drivers. I mean, you could have
Mhm.
a new person that's new to driving a dozer, or if you give one to you and I'm not a dozer, but you could train somebody in a day, or how to manipulate the controls, and they could get dangerous, but they're not going to be very efficient. And
Mhm.
then there's the superstar dozer operators that they can do move the earth very efficiently, and so training the algorithms on how to be the superstar. So now you have um, a whole fleet of superstars, instead of a bell curve of some not so good drivers and not so poor drivers.
Yeah.
So and then but before we get to that point, I think teleoperations will take over as well. So then you have a driver or a dozer operator, using the same example, that is now controlling several bulldozers remotely,
Mhm.
and it protects them from the potentially harsh environments and the vibration from the vehicles.
Mhm. So I imagine bringing full autonomy to mining vehicles must be fairly difficult. Compared to regular vehicles, there's balance issues to manage. There's a lot of safety issues. It seems like quite a bit much more complex problem.
It is, but again, with machine learning and other AI techniques, I think it's a solvable problem. I think they're in the freight industry. They're already looking at not just driving the semi truck from point A to point B. But then, okay, once I get to the dock, there are robots, or autonomous vehicles that'll unload the truck, right? So
Mhm.
how do we do that? How do you make that efficient? So, maybe the problem, is a little bit different, but it's the same extension of AI and autonomous vehicles to do that.
Can you tell us a little bit about how autonomy is going to affect the planning and utilization of a mining environment?
Yeah, so at the end of the day, there's a reconciliation that occurs. The mine engineers plan what's going to happen for the day, and there's variation because of we're all humans doing things, and with the autonomous vehicles, that variation becomes a lot less, right? So exactly what's going to happen,
Mm.
and you're going to get the efficiencies of mining. So you're going to save money, you're going to save fuel, you're going to get that ore out of there a lot quicker than you would with just humans operating
You are our resident mining expert here at Cyngn.
it.
Um,
Okay.
you're having conversations with mining operations about potentially bringing autonomy to their work. And so I'd like to ask you, what are some misconceptions that you're encountering as you're having these conversations?
Well, one is, it's like the whole autonomous vehicle space. I think people think it's a lot farther than it is, and just have realistic expectations that what the limits are. Right, you're not going to have a dozer that's just going to bulldoze all this ore out of the way. Right,
Mhm.
that's not there yet. But you are going to have safe and efficient vehicles that are moving from A to B, and doing it in an efficient way, right?
Mm.
The other thing is, everybody is like, oh, I'm going to lose my job if autonomous vehicles come in there, and you may be doing something different. The person that was driving the vehicle, maybe driving the vehicle from a teleoperations point of view, or they might be doing something different. With all digital transformation, there's a shift in what people are currently doing. Right, if you look at mines 100 years ago or older, I mean, there are people that their job was to feed the mules, right, or go around and refill people's lamps with oil, right.
Mm.
Those jobs don't exist anymore because we have electricity and we have cars, right, or mine vehicles. So
Yeah. Yeah, it's for sure going to be a shift to different work. And it sounds like there's going to be, there's still going to be a need for people to sort of manage the fleet. So I want to widen the scope a little bit. I know one of the things we've talked about a lot is the possibility of mining in space. For
okay.
for people who haven't been paying attention, what can you tell us is coming, and what have you heard people are working on?
Yeah, I mean that's exciting development that a lot of people are looking into. Like for instance, the Colorado School of Mines just started a program on space mining or lunar mining. One of the exciting things that has happened in the last couple of years is that they think there's a lot of water on the moon, and with the water that allows you to create rocket fuel in space. So you don't have to launch all that tonnage or of rocket fuel to get you to the moon and back, right? You just need to have enough fuel to get you into orbit, and then you can refuel from fuel created from the water to the moon. So that's going to reduce the total cost of mining um, from the moon. Where if you had to bring all the fuel up yourself, from Earth, it's cost prohibitive right now. But there are a lot of great minerals potentially on the moon. Rare earth metals to
Mhm.
even aluminum and iron and other things that potentially could be on the moon. And
Yeah.
then beyond the moon, there's the asteroids as well. So and there's an asteroid there's so much gold on it would crash the economy. So there's another.
Yeah, I've heard it's like I saw the number and it had like 17 zeros after it or something.
Yeah.
So much gold. Yeah. And so when do you think we'll be mining on the moon? Do you have a prediction?
I think it'll happen in our lifetimes. I think, especially if the amount of water that they think is on the moon is turns out to be true. I think that'll happen. I think also, there's also, which is probably maybe not as sexy as space mining, but another development will be the underwater mining as well. So, and that autonomy is really going to be in addition to space mining, but autonomy is really going to be necessary in order for us to mine underwater.
Yeah, excellent. All right, Tim. Well, I really appreciate the time. It's been interesting. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.